Everyday food solutions are always close at hand for consumers in Indonesia, where PT Indofood CBP Sukses Makmur, or ICBP, is an established market leader in the packaged food industry. ICBP products include a number of household names in the world's fourth most populous economy and one of the fastest growing in Asia. Established as a separate corporate entity in 2009, ICBP was formed from the former consumer-branded products group of PT Indofood Sukses Makmur, or Indofood, one of the leading integrated food companies in Indonesia. The continuing close relationship of the two companies creates powerful competitive advantages. Many ICBP products are the choice of people of all ages in a nation of over 240 million people, consistently winning awards for strong brand equity and consumer satisfaction.
Thank you for the time given. We from Syndicate 5 will present about scenario planning at PT Indofood CBP Sukses Makmur Noodle Division. Our members are Rani, myself, Indra, Citra, Rudianto, Alendra, and Ika. Next slide about the company profile. PT Indofood Noodle Division is one of the world's instant noodle manufacturers. It operates 16 factories spread across Indonesia, which are capable of producing more than 15 billion packs annually to meet the ever-increasing demand. To expand its business globally, Indofood acquired Pine Hill Company Limited, so that currently Indofood operates 30 noodles factories in Indonesia, Malaysia, the Middle East, and Southeastern Europe with a total capacity of around 29 billion packs of instant noodle annually. The noodles division has 6 brands, including Indomie, Supermie, Sarimi, Popmie, Sakura, and Mie Telur Cap Tiga Ayam. The next slide, we will discuss about ICBP scenario planning, which consists of 6 stages. In stage 1, our syndicate saw unexpected events such as COVID-19, which caused demand to be unfulfilled due to social restrictions. Another example is the war between Russia and Ukraine, which is currently still ongoing, causing a reduction in the supply of wheat from Ukraine due to Russia blocking the grain shipping route. The blocking will have an impact on reducing the supply on flour, which is the main raw material in the instant noodle production process. For these 2 examples, in this presentation, our syndicate tries to analyze and discover the key focal issue that is the future of ICBP instant noodle for the next 5 years, which will be useful for the Indofood Board of Directors going forward. In the next stage, which is stage 2, we will discuss about driving forces. Stage 3, we will discuss about critical uncertainties and scenario framework, implication and option, and then early warning signals, and will further explained by my colleague. And next, we'll present it by Mbak Ika, explaining the driving forces. Mbak Ika, the time is yours.
Thank you for the introduction, Mbak Rani. Please allow me to continue with the next stage, which is identifying the driving forces that could influence the business of Indomie. We categorize the driving forces into 3 factors: contextual, transactional, and organizational factors. For the contextual factors, our group identified 5 driving forces, and they are global pandemic issue, global warming issue, food scarcity, energy scarcity, and raw material, which in this case, wheat scarcity. And then for the transactional factors, the 4 possible driving forces we have identified are healthy food trend, food safety compliance, price competition, and agility to respond current trends. As for the last one, the organizational factors, we only identified 2 driving forces, which are operational efficiency and employee cost. Now let's move on to the 3rd stage. In this stage, each member of our group rated each of the driving factors based on 2 aspects: uncertainty and impact. because we would like to find out which are the two driving forces that have the highest rating in both aspects. And as you can see, number 1 and 5, which are global pandemic issue and raw material scarcity, have the highest rating, and therefore we will use these two driving forces to create our scenario planning, which will be presented by my colleague, Bang Rudi. Over to you, Bang Rudi.
As mentioned before, we have two key uncertainties that have the biggest impact in Indofood business situation. They are global pandemic issue and raw material scarcity. After we have these two critical uncertainties that are going to have the biggest effect in Indofood business situation, and then we put it in the scenario planning makers. There are 4 quadrants here. At the top left, for the situation that has big global pandemic impact and has high raw material sustainability, we name it the JAFU. At the top right, there is situation that has low global pandemic impact and has high raw material sustainability. We name it sleep well. At the bottom right, for the situation that has low global pandemic impact and also has low raw material sustainability, we name it daydream. And the last one, there is situation that has big global pandemic impact and has low raw material sustainability, we name it nightmare. There is several possible situations that are going to happen in the future. First, for the JAFU, there will be the rise of healthy food awareness, high customer demand for long shelf life food products, good level of instant noodle supply, price competition will be high, and new e-commerce apps will emerge. For the sleep well, there is no global pandemic in the future, and abundance of wheat supply will be happen, market growth will be increased, and there is tight price competition. For the daydream, the price will be increased due to scarcity and the rising price of the raw material. Production rate will be decreasing, global economic will be growth, but ICBP revenue will be decreasing. And the last one, for the nightmare situation, Ukraine war is getting worse. Global wheat price will be increased significantly. The raw material scarcity and supply-demand gaps will be continued. Wheat importers and exporters are seeing a decline in demand as countries continue to restrict wheat exports to maintain national stockpiles. And there is panic buying. Thank you. The next slide will be handed over to Mas Indra.
Thank you, Bang Rudi. In this stage 4, I will explain about the narrative of each scenario. We will start with the first scenario, nightmare scenario. PT Indofood face extremely difficult business situation, forcing them to raise the price of Indomie to unimaginable level. This is due to a wheat shortage caused by the unresolved Russia-Ukraine war, which has been amplified by the long-running pandemic. And then move to the second scenario, deja vu scenario. In the middle of continuing pandemic situation and abundant supply of instant noodle, it seems the market split into 2 teams, healthy team and the practical team. The previous team concerned with health issues and prefer gluten-free product, while the latter choose long shelf life product which condition made by Indomie, the instant noodle market leader in Indonesia. Will Indofood spread its wings to add gluten-free instant noodle in the portfolio? Next, we move to the third scenario, sleep well scenario. Indomie Indonesia's most popular instant noodle brand, is driving positive business growth by establishing several new production lines in India. This is consistent with the company's strategy of ensuring a steady supply of wheat. However, because of the abundant global supply of wheat, competitors' instant noodle products have recently reduced prices. PT Indofood promised to keep innovating Indomie products in order to maintain its position as market leader with competitive price. Next, move to the last scenario, the daydream scenario. As the pandemic goes out of sight, global economic growth shows an uptrend and gives a lot of hopes to many business players. However, instant noodle producers, which import their raw material from Russia and Ukraine, forced to decrease their production due to a prolonged war, forced to increase their product selling price, and encounter a decrease in revenue. Thus cannot join the fun of global growth. Okay, that's all for the narrative. Next stage is the implication and option will be presented by Mas Alan.
Okay, so in the stage 5, we are going to discuss the implications and options. So there are also 4 scenarios for the implications and options. We're going to discuss, the first one is nightmare scenarios. The implications are there is a high raw material of wheat prices due to the low sustainability of the wheat. The second one is the quarantine and activity restrictions that disrupt the operations due to the continuing pandemic. And the third one is weak demand due to trend of healthy food. So the options are, the first one is enhanced research on wheat genetic modification, to find some alternatives. The second one, it needs to build a large wheat storage facility. And the third one is the automation research to minimize human interactions, of course, again, which is drives by the continuing pandemics. Okay, moving up to the deja vu scenarios. The implications are, the first one is, of course, the abundant stock of wheat due to the continuing pandemic. Of course, the second one is pandemic lockdown. And then also there is a production and supply chains that are hampered because of the pandemics. The next one is the difficulty in distributing the product, again, because the restriction of the activity and because the continuing pandemic. And the last one is low level of supply and undelivered demand. Well, it has 2 options from the implication it has. The first one is it needs to switch the utilization of the machines for R&D purposes to develop healthy product variants. And the second one, it needs to optimize partnership with e-commerce for distributions of the products. Okay, moving up to the right, the sleep well scenarios. It has 2 implications. The first one is low raw material prices of wheat that will trigger a new competitor that will arises. The second one is the high customer demand, because there's no pandemic and the raw material sustainability the level is high. And the options, the first one is business expansions. It could be to a new country. The second one is brand enhancement, and the last one is lower the price of the product. For example, Indomie, which is in line with the decline in wheat prices, while maintaining the profit margin that it has. So moving down to the last scenarios, which is daydream. So the implications are, the first one is higher production costs because the sustainability of the raw material level is very low, and it also will cause a downtime machine. And the options are it needs to find alternative raw materials to create new variants of Indomie to stay competitive in the market. Okay, that is all. Next slide will be explained by my colleagues, Mbak Citra.
Okay, thank you, Mas Alan. Now we come to the last stage of scenario planning, that is early warning signals. Early warning signals are leading indicators that highlight the emergence of a scenario or another. Previously, my friend already presented about 4 scenarios. They are nightmare, deja vu, sleep well, and daydream. The question is when to implement such a scenario. There are early warning signals to pay attention to, and it is the trigger of which scenario we will implement. We start from the nightmare scenario. The early warning signals are the production target was not achieved due to waste shortage. And the second one is cost of goods sold increased dramatically because of the waste shortage. The third one is market growth gets slow significantly. And then higher sick leave because of the continuing pandemic. And then the last one is trade route blockade by Russia due to the prolonged war until now between Russia and Ukraine. And for the second scenario, that is deja vu, the condition is still continuing pandemic, but raw material or with in abundance amount. So the early warning signals are there are panic buying because of the pandemic still continuing, and then the price of raw material is dropping because of the abundance of the raw material, and longer distribution time due to continuing pandemic. And then early warning signals for sleep well scenario are with harvesting increase continuously, so there is with abundance, and also business growth because pandemic already ended, and new competitors enter the market due to low with price because of the abundant amount. And the last one is daydream scenario. The early warning signals are people tend to have new consumption patterns because there is no more pandemic, but shortage of raw material. Yeah. And then the next early warning signals is the rise of new product innovation. Because of the scarcity of the raw material, there will be innovation, maybe combine the with tapioca flour, or making noodles just from a tapioca flour, and so on. So that's all the early warning signals as the last stage of scenario planning. We hope you enjoy it and understand about this concept. Thank you, everyone.